Welcome to the Unitarian Church of Lincoln on this Sunday morning. My name is the Reverend Oscar Sinclair. Each week since the beginning of the coronavirus pandemic in March of 2020, our congregation has gathered together at least twice. On Thursday night, when we tend to our community and each other directly on Zoom, and on this service, on Sunday morning broadcast on YouTube. Sunday morning, whether in person or on YouTube, is a chance to proclaim who we are and what we are about, throwing open the doors of the congregation and proclaiming the radical love and welcome that is at the heart of our shared faith. The Unitarian Church of Lincoln, we say, aspires to be a loving community, uniting reason with spiritual exploration to transform ourselves and the world. And right now, this fall, in this year when so much is uncertain, we know that transformation is necessary. This is the place. This is the time. Who will we be? How will we be? In a time of anxiety and pandemic and fear, what are we called to be as a community? This is, as Reverend Susan Frederick Gray puts it, no time for a casual faith. And this right here, right now, is where we practice. And as Susan Frederick Gray puts it, this is no time to go it alone. And so this, right here, right now, is where we practice together. So take a moment as we begin. Be present right here, right now. Let go of what you've carried here. Set aside what will come later. Just be right here, together. There is work to be done. Let's be about it. Our chalice lighting words this morning are from the Reverend Gretchen Haley, who writes, "There is a time to let go of the resistance, the steadfast march to complete the to-do list for parents and activists, for all who love this life, these people, these mountains, this sky. There is a time to rest and to trust that the world will go on, filled with partners at the ready, all of us splitting shifts on this project of building and healing, tending and turning. Breath and being require their own practice, their own attention. And the heart needs time for becoming stronger after the shattering, the opening wider, the learning to love more and again. Come into this place, study stillness and joy, know your belovedness like a memory calling out from the center of your being, connecting every little piece to everything, to everyone, and all of us. Feel here the gratitude rising and praise for this chance to begin again, this day. Come, let us worship together." So wherever you are, let us light a chalice together. Maybe you have one in your home, maybe you have one in your heart. We'll light this one behind me for the congregation.
Our story today is called The Longest Night by Marion Dane Bauer. The snow lies deep, the night is long and long, the stars are ice, the moon is frost, and all the world is still. Bears sleep, as do the velvet mice. A moon shadow lies by every tree, thin as a hungry wolf. Shh, whines the wind, the bitter wind. Cold and dark now rule, cold and dark now rule. "Gone," caws the crow, the night dark crow. "So long the sun's been gone, I saw it slink, I saw it sneak, I saw it creep behind a cloud and go to sleep. But I'm the one. I know how to bring back the sun. I'll fly with my strong wings to reach the clouds. I'll poke with my sharp beak and wake the sun." "Not you," sighs the wind, "not you." "Gone," cries the moose, the mighty moose. "I know the sun is gone. I saw it slip, I saw it slide, I saw it plunge from the bowl of the sky. and disappear behind a hill. But I'm the one. I know how to bring back the sun. I have legs long enough to reach that hill, to climb that hill. I have antlers strong enough to scoop up the sun and bring it home. Not you, sighs the wind. Not you. Gone, barks the fox, the clever fox. The sun is too long gone. Someone must search, someone must seek, someone must find the hole the sun crawled into. I'm the one. I know how to bring back the sun. I have a nose keen enough to sniff out the sun's hiding place, paws quick enough to dig it up, teeth sharp enough to grab the sun and toss it back into the sky. Not you, sighs the wind, not you. The night is long and long, says a chickadee. The sun is gone and gone. If not crow or moose or fox, then who? Who can bring back the sun? You, says the wind. Only you. Me, cries the chickadee. Her, cry crow and moose and fox. Answers the wind. Chickadee hears. Only you. The little bird knows. She can't fly all the way to the sun. Her beak isn't strong enough to poke it awake. She can't climb or scoop. She can't sniff or dig or toss the sun into the sky. So she does instead what chickadees do best. She sings a song. She sings. She sings. What kind of noise is that? Cries Crow. Just. The sun won't listen to such nonsense, bellows Moose. What can it mean? Barks Fox. Just, says the chickadee. Only that. Says the wind. A star melts away, then another. The frosty moon pauses, snagged in the branches of a tree. The world holds its breath, waiting. Says the chickadee. And again, slowly, slowly, the sun opens his eyes, he stretches, he tilts his head listening. Who sings in the cold and dark, he asks. Who, indeed, whispers the wind. Says the chickadee, and the sun smiles. Fingers of light peel back the blanket of darkness. Fingers of light grasp the edge of the world, and slowly, slowly, the sun lifts himself into the sky. Thank you, sun, sings the chickadee. Thank you, sun, echoes the world. And with the song of one small bird and the sun's answering smile, the journey towards spring begins. And that is the end of our story.
Each week, we take up an offering to support everything that goes on here at the Unitarian Church of Lincoln. As the next song plays, if you feel so inclined, please text UC Lincoln and the amount you'd like to give to 73256. That's UC Lincoln and the amount to 73256. Thank you so much for your support of everything we do here at the Unitarian Church of Lincoln.
This is just a quick programming note regarding music over the next week. There's a thing that happens every year in Unitarian Universalist congregations when we're in person. We have Christmas carols as part of the service, and we open up our hymnals and sing. And about half the congregation sings the carols as they exist in the hymnal, and the other half sings the carols that they remember from childhood. And we all live in the cacophony of different words to these songs. And one of the eccentricities of doing online worship is that we have to choose which lyrics to use in these services. So Julie and Bob and I made the decision this year because we don't get to do this that often, to use the traditional lyrics as we were recording Christmas carols for this holiday season. I think that's the right decision to make. I have some disagreements with how the Unitarian Universalist Association chose to edit the Christmas section of our hymnal, because it takes these songs out of their context, out of the context in which they were written. And occasionally the fit isn't great. But the danger in that is that the theology sung in Christmas carols is not always the theology that we proclaim from our church. So I say this now, because the next carol, What Child Is This?, is a particular instance of that. So I'd encourage you, as you listen to it, to hear it as Greensleeves, to hear the music as Greensleeves, but also recognize that William Chatterton Dix in the 1860s did not have the same understanding of what Christmas means that we might now have in the Unitarian Church of Lincoln in 2020. And that's okay. Diverse theologies are a beautiful thing, and when they exist within one worship service or within one song, that works too. And it is only an accident of the form that we had to pick one version to be recorded. Our next hymn is What Child Is This?
What child is this who late to rest on Mary's lap is sleeping, whom angels greet with anthems sweet, the shepherds watch are keeping. This is Christ the King, whom shepherds guard and angels sing. Haste, haste to bring him Lord, the babe, the Son of Mary. Why lies he in such mean estate, where ox and ass are feeding? Good Christians, fear for sinners dear, the silent word is pleading. Nails, spear shall pierce him through, the cross be borne for me, for you. Hail, hail the Word made flesh, the babe, the Son of Mary. So bring him incense, gold, and myrrh, come peasant king to own him, the King of kings, salvation brings, let loving hearts enthrone him. Raise, raise a song on high, the Virgin sings her lullaby. Joy, joy, for Christ is born, the babe, the Son of Mary.
The Most Important Skill by Zat Rana. If there is one word to describe the progress made in the last 100 years, it's connectedness. Information technologies have dominated our cultural direction. From the telephone to the radio to the TV to the internet, we have found ways to bring us all closer together, enabling constant worldly access. I can sit in my office in Canada and transport myself to practically anywhere I want through Skype. I can be on the other side of the world and still know what is going on at home with a quick browse. I don't think I need to highlight the benefits of all this, but the downsides are also beginning to show. Beyond the current talk about privacy and data collection, there is perhaps an even more detrimental side effect here. We now live in a world where we're connected to everything except ourselves. If Pascal's observation about our inability to sit quietly in a room by ourselves is true of the human condition in general, then the issue has certainly been augmented by an order of magnitude due to the options available today. The logic is, of course, seductive. Why be alone when you never have to?
All of humanity's problems stem from man's inability to sit quietly in a room alone, Blaise Pascal wrote. The theme for the month of December in our worship is stillness. I want to begin today by asking the question, why is stillness spiritually valuable? There was a meme that went around early in the pandemic that went something like this: if you don't use this time to learn a new language or develop a new skill, or the list went on, then it will have been wasted time. Now, I have critiqued that meme before in a sermon, how for many of us just getting by during this time is the goal, not learning new skills. But there's also a reason that that's wrong beyond simply being unrealistic. Because even if in this time of pandemic we have lots of uninterrupted time, it does not follow that that time needs to be full in order to be valuable. It does not follow that we need to be doing something. Now, there's a deep irony in this particular message at this particular time, because this is, at least for me, one of the busiest weeks of the year. Every single year, the week leading up to Christmas somehow manages to be one of the busiest weeks of the congregational year. Just writing for 20 uninterrupted minutes is a challenge. And so I've spent the last couple days using the time where I should be spending quality time with my daughter uninterrupted, instead reading my doctorate of ministry work for courses that begin in 2 weeks, or working on a sermon, or paging through budgets or ideas for the coming year, a potential Christmas Eve script. But despite, and maybe because this week feels so kinetic, I find myself longing for stillness. All of humanity's problems stem from our inability to sit quietly in a room alone. I think Pascal was onto something. There's actually a term in neuroscience for sitting quietly in a room. Neuroscience talks about a default mode network. Sometimes it used to be called the task-negative network of the brain. And what that is that when we are still and not engaged in any task that requires particular attention, there's a constellation of certain areas of the brain that light up. And this area, when it's engaged together, appears to be where our sense of self is located, neurologically speaking. It's where reflection, autobiographical memory, moral reasoning all occur. These are all characteristics of the task-negative state in the brain. Here's a practical example that may have happened to you. Once in a while, we'll put Ailish to bed, Stacy will fall asleep, and then I find myself in a dark room with my mind wandering. And every once in a while, it gets stuck on the reality of big questions of existence. Suddenly, in the middle of the night, I am aware in a deeper way than I am during the day that I am a soul, a self, embodied with a beginning and an end, both connected to others and somehow gloriously unique. This is the default mode network. Some nights I stay up reflecting. Some nights I don't want to spend in reflection, and so I pick up a book to flip the switch from task-negative cognition to task-oriented reading. Now, Pascal did not have the same understanding of neuroscience that we do now, but I think he was getting at something similar to those evening moments. 10 years ago, I was a Peace Corps volunteer in Lesotho, and one of the enduring memories of that time for me was the amount of time that I spent doing nothing in particular. Peace Corps volunteers sign up to do 27-month terms of service, and 10 months into mine, the project I was assigned to ran out of grant funding. Now, Peace Corps is a federal agency, and it is not, at the best of times, a nimble organization. So I spent most of my second year in Lesotho without much to do. I've told that story here before, usually ending with, and then I decided not to go to seminary, and had a dramatic change of heart a few years afterwards. That's certainly a true part of the story. But one thing that I really value from that time is that it forced me into a kind of season of stillness, where now, a decade later, I'm pretty comfortable spending time alone with myself in a room. It is even a thing that I yearn for in busy seasons like this one. But it took a lot of practice. A lot of practice that I didn't have a whole lot of choice about. And I wonder how many of us are in the midst of a season now, in 2020, what 2010 in Lesotho was for me, a difficult time, but one in which the range of possible activities was sharply curtailed, where we've been left often sitting quietly in the separate rooms of our lives. It took me most of a decade to see the enforced stillness and, frankly, boredom of my second year in Lesotho, not as a challenge that I overcame, but as a gift. I wonder what lessons from quarantine we'll discover 10 years from now.
These words are by the Reverend Jennifer Grayson. In our community, we make time each week to share pieces of our lives with one another. We do this because each person in this community has value. Each person's experience matters. We share our sorrows with one another today, knowing that sorrow comes into each person's life, knowing that together we can offer comfort. We also share our joys with one another, knowing too that joy comes into all of our lives, knowing that together our voices can rise in a chorus of celebration. Not every joy or sorrow can be shared openly in community. Some must be held in the heart. We make space each week for silent or spoken joys and sorrows, knowing the life and experience of every person matters, and together our lights shine brighter. As this next song plays, please share your name or the name of someone you would like us to recognize in joy or in sorrow. Thank you for your presence.
Where there is faith, there is love. Where there is love, there is peace. Where there is peace, there is blessing. Where there is blessing, there is God. Where there is God, there is no need. Where there is faith, there is love. Where there is love, there is peace. Where there is peace, there is blessing. Where there is blessing, there is God. Where there is God, there is need.
On December 21st, we experienced the shortest day and the longest night of the year. The increased hours of darkness guide us to enter into the dark night of the soul, a time of retreat where we can go within and hear the subtler stirrings of our being. Sometimes it is only in the darkness that we can truly feel comfortable to be ourselves. When the spotlight of the sun shines down on us, we can feel exposed. We can feel that we have to act or be a certain way. When the lights are turned off, when it is just us, alone with our thoughts at midnight, that is when we can truly dive into our core and come face to face with the new truth of who we are. It is not that we have to shame who we are under the bright light of the sun, for this is a part of us too. But if we stay there too long, we tend to get disconnected, which is why the universe calls in the longest night of the year. At this time, it is an opportunity for us all to enter into the darkness, to move away from the spotlight, and instead to sit with ourselves and our own truth.
Tanaz reminds us that the invitation of the winter holiday, particularly of solstice, is twofold. Yes, there is joy and laughter and celebration as part of this season, but there is also a profound invitation to stillness, to quiet, to contemplation. An invitation on the longest night of the year into the darkness. Darkness that we do not need to fear. Darkness that gives us space and time to consider who we are and what our place is in the unfolding story around us. 25 years ago, on the Sunday closest to the winter solstice, the Reverend Charles Stephen wrote this: "There is, I think, nothing inherently holy about lighting a candle. But this winter solstice time remains a holy time in the deepest sense of that word, holy. Its essential holiness lies not in the story of the Maccabees, not the festival of Saturnalia, not the myth of the virgin birth of the baby in a barn. These are the human responses to the overwhelming, imponderable miracle of existence, of being itself. Statistically, wrote Lewis Thomas, the probability of any one of us being here is so small that you'd think the mere fact of existing would keep us all in a contented dazzlement of surprise." Now, the stories of this season might be human responses to the overwhelming miracle of existence, but I do not think that diminishes them. Because our souls hunger for moments of stillness, our brains for a time in the default mode, a chance for networks to integrate new experiences. And these stories we tell on the darkest nights of the year are invitations to stillness. The hush of lit candles as a single voice sings out, Baruch atah Adonai, blessed are you, O God, sovereign of the universe. The stillness of a barn 2,000 years ago, punctuated by the cries of a newborn and the gasps of shepherds witness to a miracle. Stars glittering in the icy winter sky, keeping watch over the longest night before the sun begins her long march back into spring. Invitations to stillness, all. Tonight, Sunday night, is the longest night of the year. The astronomical solstice falls at about 4 a.m. on Monday morning. So in the moments of this coming week, and tonight, remember those invitations. For many of us, this will be a quieter holiday than ones before. Maybe without raucous extended family gatherings or parties with friends. And that's hard. That's a loss. But remember two things over the next week. First, pandemics end. And as best we can tell, the holidays next year will be much different than the holidays this year. But second, in the stories of this season that we tell and have told for years, in the stillness, there is an invitation to quiet, to contemplation, and to peace. May it be, and Amen.
Have I not known the sky and sea put on a look as hushed and stilled as if some ancient prophecy drew close upon to be fulfilled? Like mist the houses shrink and swell, like blood the highways throb and beat, the sapless stones beneath my feet turn foliate with miracle. And life and death but one thing are, and I have seen this wingless world cursed with impermanence and world, like dust across the summer's world. And I have dealt with presences behind the veils of time and place, and I have seen in this world a star, bright shining, wonderful in space.
Our closing words are from Don Marquis, the lyrics to the hymn that we just finished singing. Have I not known the sky and sea put on a look as hushed and stilled, as if some ancient prophecy drew close upon to be fulfilled? Like mist the houses shrink and swell, like blood the highways throb and beat, the sapless stones beneath my feet turn foliate with miracle. Find moments of stillness in the next week, moments of contemplation, moments of peace. May it be, and amen.